Tell you a little bit about the iCTF. At this point, many people have discussed their own CTF, so I want to talk about mine, of course. The problem.
I was going to suggest that you use the mic.
Oh, sorry, absolutely. Sorry. Great. So the problem, of course, is secure education, which is in high demand. But the main problem is that there is, in general, low availability of really good practical courses in security. And I must say that I'm very happy to see a trend towards providing more and more courses that have a practical character. Because when I started teaching my vulnerability analysis class, that was immediately called a hacking class in 2000, actually January 2001, it was one of the very few classes of this kind at the grad level, and it was not very easy to convince people that that was something that we had to have in order to create the new, generation of computer security experts. As part of the class, I said that during the panel, I created a capture the flag kind of environment as the final for the class, which has evolved into this large scale competition that I will tell you a little bit about. And here I think that what really changed the game in a way is the introduction of virtualization, the technology that allows to run machines in isolation. Our first CTF was completely on bare metal with with the hurdles that you can imagine when something crashes. You have to reinstall the operating system or DD it on a disk. So it wasn't that easy. There are many CTFs, and I already ranted 3 or 4 times that challenge-based CTFs should not be called CTFs. The main problem is that the challenge-based are very popular. They're very easy to organize, very easy to scale, very easy to score. I mean, there is really no scoring. You say this is worth 100, you solve it, you get 100. It's as automated and perfect scoring as it gets. They exclusively focus on attacking, and of course they have no real-time component. This is something that we haven't touched so far. There is a certain amount of learning that happens actually at the competition. I still believe that the vast majority of the learning and the education happens in the 3 months to a year before the competition itself. But there is something about being there for 2 days and going crazy because you have this feeling that you're being under pressure, attacked, and you have to come up with stuff that is counteracting something that comes from an adversary that is there out to get you. And this is something that you don't get in other forms of competition, but you get in a attack and defense competition. Of course, so not why everybody does it. If you look at the CTF time of the many CTFs that are listed there, I think only 8 are actual capture the flag competitions. The main problem is they're very difficult to organize, and the MIT people know, and Chris Eagle knows it. He ran DEF CON for many years. There is infrastructure that is involved, so that means also resources, money. It's incredibly difficult to scale. The fails that we had in our competition as the iCTF was always scaling problems. It was like, we tested. Yes, of course we test. And then we fire, 64 virtual machines and everything, dies. And I think that by focusing on both attacking and defense, of course, you not only learn to work with both sides of the field, but you also learn how to detect attacks that come from other people. One thing that we did is every year we came out with a fun theme, and we structure the whole competition around one theme. That's another thing that differentiates this from other CTFs that oftentimes are just a scattered set of challenges. Sincerely, is the theme important? Not really. It makes it more fun. It allows you to give some hints. There's some things that you can work with. The interesting thing here is that actually many of this are completely new designs. And actually, I would say for the past, from 2007 on, we have tried every single year to create a completely new CTF design. They require a complete rewrite of our infrastructure, scoring system, everything. just because we want to write papers about it, and unless you do something new, it's very difficult to do that. And I can tell you a little bit about it. But the traditional one that I'm going to talk about today is really the one in which you have sort of a set of vulnerable service that you, with bugs. So this is a virtual machine with a bunch of services with vulnerabilities, and then you have a score bot that on a regular basis distributes these flags that are associated with services. And you have to keep these flags that change continuously untouched and uncompromised. Of course, the team can break something, steal a flag, and submit it to Scorebot to demonstrate that the attack was successful. And this is really the basic concept behind the CTF. And sorry if I bore you with these details, but it's important because there are many little things here that are complicated. For example, one thing that we always struggle with is this setting and getting of the flag. It seems such a trivial concept, and it's still one of the most difficult things to do right. Because if you don't set the flag, you don't change whatever is the information associated with the service, and you cannot verify it as being compromised or not. But how do you set the flag? You cannot exploit the service to set the flag, to put the flag in the service, because you want people to be able to patch the service. So the setting and retrieving of the flag must be part of the functionality. And there are other designs, especially DEF CON recently. I think that this trend started with the one before DD Tech. I don't remember exactly what was the name of the? Kenshoto started doing this at DEF CON, where they would actually set and get the flag by just coming from below the virtual machine, so without actually exercising the service. And this created, I think it's a very flawed design, because the setting and getting of the flag should be part of the normal exercise of the service. If you separate the two things, you can really create these very abnormal situations where you can cripple the service, but the flag, since it's independently updated, can go up and down. Of course, it's 10 times easier to do that way. So if you're lazy, you do it that way. If you want to do it the right way, you have the flag as integral part of the exercising of the service. But this costs us a lot of things. So what are the good, the bad, and the ugly things? These are kind of random things. It was cool. I think it's a good thing that it was born as the final of a class. So even though it has evolved into this very large competition with 120 teams and more than 1,200 students competing all at the same time, it still for us is, this is the final for a grad class in vulnerability analysis, where we bring grad students from 0 to 10 in 3 months. The other good thing is the innovative design. I can now go through all the designs. Some of these have been published. But we did a very cool thing, for example, with risk reward, where you would steal a flag, but then you have a certain risk that depends on how often you stole from that service, and you have a bigger reward depending on the market. There is sort of like a stock market for flags. It was very difficult to understand, but people who understood it won. So we introduced a new level of challenge, which is understanding the scoring system. And the ugly stuff are infrastructure meltdowns that we cannot really understand, sometimes predict. The bad press and sometimes the good press. And some bad stuff is the destructive behavior that we very few times observe, but that is not completely missing from this kind of competition. Very good stuff is the NSF funding. The NSF really helped us in creating infrastructure, running competitions, so I want to make a public recognition of that particular thing. But I'm here to talk about this iCTF framework. We have been asked many times, hey, we want to run something similar, even in a smaller setting. It doesn't have to be 120 teams. Can we do that? And so a long time ago, I think in 2006 or 2007, we put up 3 or 4 images that people could download, but there really was nothing there that could be reused in a in a very customizable fashion. So we want something that was customizable and also could be based on crowdsourcing these vulnerable services. So because each service is complicated, has to have this continuous get and set of the flags. I will not go in the details, but the basic idea is that you want to have in a one package the software that is vulnerable, the procedure to set and get the flag, and also the procedure to generate background traffic, so you cannot immediately profile what are the activities that are associated with getting and setting the flag. And then you want to have the central database that store all the information about the state of the competition, and a scorebot that is automatically setting, getting the flag, and deciding who has to receive points for having the services up or down or compromising other services. So the basic idea in our framework is that you will go to a website, you will select a number of services that you decided are the right composition of skill set, of things that you want to exploit, that you want to have present in your competition, and then you press another button and you describe the teams that are going to participate. And as a result, we will provide you with links to all the VMs already customized for the teams, plus a VM to act as the VPN concentrator for these teams. I mean, this may be not in the beta version that we get released today, but it's going to be there in a week. Tomorrow? Oh, is there already? Oh, I mean, they're faster than I can speak. That's awesome. And so you will be able to create a competition that has, and we have two students there in the crowd, Kevin and Jan, that are, I think, coding right now the framework as we speak. We got a little sidetracked by DEF CON, so we're slightly late on the delivery. But the cool thing is that by doing this, right now, you probably can choose 2 or 3 services. Is very limited. But we expect the community to contribute services, so this can be really a repository where everybody makes the infrastructure better, make the services better and more diverse. And we really hope to be able to allow not really the people like Chris or Dave? Andy, sorry. And Andy, who have a lot of experience, they don't need this, of course. But the people that are running, they want to run a CTF and have no idea where to start, they can really have a plug-and-play sort of system that will allow us to experiment with it. And if they really like it, I'm sure they will end up designing their own. So in conclusion, we really think that CTFs are useful. And I think that by creating a framework that allow people with really few clicks create all the VPNs and all the VMs to create a completely self-contained capture the flag is the way to go. I think we need a tool like this. It's probably we're releasing a 0.1 beta, so it's flawed by definition. But you can find it at this address. Will be the test site to submit, and this is the GitHub repository where you can clone it. I hope it's ready because now it's up. Okay, good. So I think, I am 2 minutes under the limit, so I'm able to. This is the work of many people involved. Jan and Kevin are sitting in the audience right there, but Adam, Luca, Dhilung, and Yanick and Jacopo also worked on this. And I must say that since this is the longest running capture the flag of this kind that there is, or also the largest. But we have been doing this for many, many years with people coming and going. And I think that it has always been an incredible, rewarding experience, especially in terms of receiving feedback from the students that participate, both positive and negative, but always with this sense of enthusiasm for having a situation in which they can really prove their participation to the community, their skills, even among themselves, not just by winning the competition. And with this, please, if you have any question, just ask. Go Andy. Controversial.
So I'm just curious. I actually never got to participate in iCTF while I was in college, so I don't know. What is inbounds in iCTF? So could I take out another team's VPN concentrator?
Yes.
Okay.
In theory, well, it is a good question. So this is different from DEF CON. So it's gloves on. So we tell people we had a few situations in which you say, okay, please do not do. I mean, these are VMs, so you should be able to restart everything. But we say no denial of service, which is also true at DEF CON. And this particular DEF CON has been particularly hard on this particular issue. We try to convince people to be nice, quote unquote. So if you get to a machine and you root their machine, maybe you don't destroy everything, you take it. But we've seen all sorts of behavior, and sincerely, you should be ready for that. If you get your pants down in a compromise at a root level, you should be able to deal with it because of the virtualization issue. So I think that's fine.
So I guess my follow-up question to that is we are currently in the process of open sourcing our framework as well, and I don't know if that's ever going to happen because, as you know, it's a lot of work to open source something. But one constant concern has been in our CTF, our grading infrastructure and everything is all in bounds, and we don't know how to write secure code.
I know,
so
absolutely.
The concern is if we have this problem with challenges. When we publish a challenge, it's been we consider it burned. We can never use that challenge ever again. All that. Are you concerned that once you publish your CTF infrastructure, it is now burned because now every team is going to spend all year finding holes in that?
Absolutely, and sincerely, Jan can attest that there is no hole. There are no holes. That was my reservation because it's always been like, okay, the moment we press public on GitHub, everybody's like, okay, let's see if we can fudge the thing. And sincerely, since if I were the DEF CON organizer, I would never do it. But since I am the organizer of an educational capture the flag, okay, there's some team can fudge and find vulnerabilities in the code, I will have to deal with it. I think it's a risk that is worth taking, but it's going to happen. I mean, people found vulnerabilities in our infrastructure during the competition. When we were at the Hilly Billy Bank, somebody found that by paying a negative number, they could increase their bank account. So they were just adding themselves points, and we didn't check for that. So it happens. Other questions? All right. Oh, Cynthia.
Is that a girl?
This?
Yeah. No,
No.
next one over.
Dhilung? No, boy.
They're all
Nepalese.
boys.
No girls. Actually, we had one instance, Vika, that also came to DEF CON. One out of students, my PhD students in 10 years, one. And Jane, but she was not a PhD student. The only graduating PhD student is Vika. So yeah, and trust me, not for the lack of trying. I actually feel very strongly about diversity in our lab, and they know very well. I always say, guys, come on, we can do better than this. But we just don't have candidates. So that's a big problem. Big problem. Thank you very much.